Growing up and going to school, we learn a lot. From science, history, art, and even music. We are really just beginning to understand the world around us. But at times, we can be tested over things that we weren't taught about in school. But just because those answers aren't simply in the back of a book, doesn't mean give up. Because there is help. This is Youth to Youth, Stories of Help and Hope. At the end of 2008, an estimated 1.2 million people aged 13 and older were living with HIV in the United States, and 4 of every 10 new infections occur in people under 30. This is Aaron. He was diagnosed with HIV on July 6th of 2011.
I had tests before because I got tested regularly, and then a person that I had an encounter with. Through the grapevine, I had heard this person only hooked up with people who were positive, and I knew that what we had done was not safe. The only symptom I had was swollen lymph nodes in my neck, and so they swelled up pretty large. So that, given the history of what I had done, the exposure, kind of was a red flag, and that's what's prompted me to get tested.
HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus, damages a person's body by destroying specific blood cells called CD4 T cells, which are crucial to helping the body fight diseases. HIV is the virus that can lead to acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS. This is the late stage of the HIV infection when a person's immune system is severely damaged and has difficulty fighting diseases and certain cancers. Once Aaron received his diagnosis, he took the news not as a death sentence or a handicap, but as an opportunity to educate and help others.
I had enough presence of mind that I pulled out my iPhone and I started recording myself, and I would go on to put those on YouTube. So for me, I wanted to share those moments leading up, to what was about to happen, and I've never looked back since, and that's been my therapy.
Hello everyone, my name is Aaron, and this is my YouTube channel where I chronicle my journey through HIV.
It's really hard for a person who hasn't been around HIV.
Aaron's almost 200 videos have been seen by nearly 100,000 people in 30 different countries, bringing life to his mission.
Whether it's sadness, whether it's anger.
I get responses on average between 5 and 10 a week from people that are either newly diagnosed or think they're going to diagnose with HIV. And a lot of people message me saying, I'm scared, but I've been watching your videos and you seem to know what you're talking about. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a social worker. All I am is a person who, I tested positive for HIV. I had to start medications in all these things, and that's my real life experience. That's what I bring to the table.
Getting diagnosed with illnesses such as HIV and even cancer have great psychological impacts due to the strong association with death and even shame that surrounds certain illnesses.
I still think there's a ton of shame associated with that, and shame makes us want to hide. And when we hide, we don't have the potential for having support with something, for going through it. And I think that's one of the biggest difficulties there, is that we have this shame about a diagnosis, and it causes us not to reach out for support.
A lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, a lot of depression, not to mention all the relational struggles, all the situations where you have parents and friends and significant others who are all impacted by whatever decision you're making and by the diagnosis you've received.
How you cope with it is how you make sense of it. For people who believe that these things shouldn't happen to them, have the hardest time coping. For those that can approach things that is, I don't like this, and it is something that has happened, it's really about moving towards acceptance. Coping is about acceptance, and acceptance isn't necessarily approval. It's just accepting what is, without trying to necessarily change it.
Even 30 years after the illness was discovered and great advances in medical treatment, there are still many stigmas that surround HIV and AIDS.
I don't think we've gotten rid of the idea that it is a gay man's disease. Even though we know that there are a number of ways that it is spread, there's a deep shame about contracting HIV.
HIV is no respecter of persons. Male, female, black, white, Muslim, Protestant, it doesn't matter. It is true that HIV has disproportionately affected the LGBT community, but that's primarily through sexual contact. That's the only commonality between the LGBT community and HIV.
Stigma is a huge issue around HIV/AIDS, to the point where we hear from clients that they're not allowed to eat off the plates in their family when they go to visit relatives, that the relatives serve them their food on paper plates because of a misunderstanding of how HIV is transmitted.
According to the CDC, primary ways of transmission include not using a condom when having sex with a person who has HIV, sharing needles, syringes used to prepare illicit drugs for injection, and being born to a mother who has HIV. Reaching out for help and education are great ways in preventing HIV and AIDS, and that is the mission of St. Louis Effort for AIDS.
St. Louis Effort for AIDS serves as the central location, one of a number in the St. Louis area, for people who are living with HIV to receive all of the services that they might need. Through Ryan White Case Management, we provide access to medical care at no cost to the individual, access to medications at no cost to the individual. We provide dental services, because access to dental services are really important for people living with HIV, because the mouth is sort of like the canary in the coal mine, that when something happens in the mouth, it's usually a predictor that there's going to be problems down the future. So we provide dental services. And as well as housing, utilities, and emotional support through support groups, and information. Because a lot of people, when they're first diagnosed with HIV, really don't understand how the virus works, what they can do to further their own health and to help in their treatment of HIV. Those at risk, we provide prevention services that include free regular testing for HIV, as well as educational forums. We provide workshops, seminars that tell people about how HIV works in the body, how to prevent transmission. We also distribute lots and lots of condoms, because a condom, a latex barrier, is the best way to prevent the spread of HIV.
It's important to know your status and the status of your partner by getting tested. Be sure to practice safe sex, limit the number of sexual partners, do not inject drugs or share needles, and obtain medical treatment immediately if you think you have been exposed to HIV.
People who are HIV positive today must know their status, they must get tested, and they must start treatment. And if a treatment comes down the road, or a cure comes down the road, certainly I'll be happy for it, and I would love to be cured. But if a cure doesn't come, I'm going to live a long and healthy life, no matter.